And welcome again to this next episode of the McKinney Podcast, where we celebrate what makes us truly unique by nature. And as you all know, we record in blocks. So James and I, we actually have regular businesses that puts food on the table. And so we set aside typically one day a month just to record all day long, bring in our guests, and to give us the content we need for the podcast. And so if you tuned into the previous episode, you saw that James was not here because, he has to take care of business. And every so often, one of us can't be here. And so James sends his apologies, but he promises that he will be back here for the next episode. And so with that, you just get your boy Fred here today. So it's completely, already off the rails. Who knows what's going to go down in this episode? But as you know, our goal here is to share with you, our community, our family here in McKinney, what makes this absolutely the best place to live by bringing you the best people in our community. And today is no exception. We have with us here, we have Unoma Okorafor.
That's correct.
PhD, Dr. Unoma Okorafor. So welcome to the show, Unoma.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you for having me on this amazing show. I'm super excited.
We're excited to have you on here because, and so other thing is that we are going through a special subset here in the McKinney Podcast by interviewing several of my classmates in Leadership McKinney, class of 26. The greatest of all time, the goats, the goats of Leadership McKinney. So for all of you tuning in or class of 18 or 23 or whatever, the best class ever. Yes. Yeah, that's fine for you. But 26, the greatest of all time.
The greatest of all time.
The greatest of all time. And that's because we have people like Unoma on here with us. So with that, I've gotten to know you now since we've, Leadership McKinney, we have one meeting a month. It's all day long. And that started in August with a kickoff. Actually, that was 2 days. That's right. That was 2 days.
That's correct.
And Unoma's one of those people that, she just lights up the room. She has this energy. She just has this, perspective on life. And just the most delightful accent. I love when you chime in because I sit there and I'm just, I have to remind myself, listen for the content, not just for the packaging of the delivery. So Unoma, tell us about yourself.
Oh my goodness. So thank you again for having me. So honored, so humbled to be here to share a little bit about, my story, my roots in McKinney, my passions, my excitement to be just a part of this amazing community. So a little bit of background. I'm originally from Nigeria. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. I'm a business owner. I'm the founder of Herbal Goodness, which is a health and wellness company that manufactures holistic supplements and herbal teas. And I'm also the founder of a nonprofit WOW Foundation dedicated to promoting science and technology education for girls in Africa and across the globe.
Okay.
So that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, that's just a little something there to kick this off with. Okay, so Nigeria. First off, I can find it on a map or on a globe.
Yes.
But, geographically speaking, where is Nigeria?
Nigeria is in West Africa.
Mm-hmm.
We are on the coast of the Atlantic, just a little bit north of the equator. So we're a tropical country. In Africa, we are the most populous country in Nigeria, over 200 million people.
Wow.
So there's a lot of us. And I grew up in Nigeria. I actually went to all high school and all college in Nigeria before I moved to the U.S. And Nigeria was home for me.
Okay.
It gave me that root of community and a sense of just belonging and just the ability to reach out and accomplish and dream. Mm-hmm. So all that happened for me in Nigeria.
Okay, so set the record straight. Is Nigeria? You said just a little north of the equator.
Yes.
Like hot.
Hot.
All the time hot.
Yes, all the time hot.
So,
but
what is winter like in Nigeria?
There is no winter. There's two seasons. There's the rainy season, which is sort of the from about March to August.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the dry season, or what we call the Harmattan season. And Nigeria actually goes all the way from, tropic region, forest region, to all the way in the north where it's a little bit of the desert.
Mm-hmm.
So you can find a varied amount of weather, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there is no winter.
There
What
is
you
no
call winter here is what we would refer to as the dry season. When there's no rain, it's a little bit drier. There's more of the winds, the dry winds coming in from the Sahara Desert
Mm-hmm.
into Nigeria, and so it's beautiful. It's a little cooler there, but generally,
But how? What is cooler for you? Because obviously, like today it was 30 something this morning, and
Yes.
it's gonna peak around 64, 65 today, I think.
Yes.
So, but what would be a cooler?
So
day?
a cooler day in Nigeria would be somewhere in the 70s,
Oh, that's actually temperate.
Yeah,
That's
temperate.
nice.
Yeah, so you
Good.
could get to the 70s in the cooler months, and then in the hotter months we're talking over 100 degrees.
That's hot.
Yes.
That's very hot. And so, I know that, growing up, my concept of anything there was that it's all desert, plains, and wild animals.
Yes.
But the number of people that you said,
Yes.
there has to be like expansive city,
Yes.
like massive amounts of city.
Oh, yes. I am so glad that you mentioned this, and I'm glad to speak to this because I think one of the beautiful things I've found about McKinney is the diversity of people here
Mm-hmm.
and the diversity of culture and experience. And so I'm always excited when people ask me about where I come from, because a lot of times people think it's, like you said, it's all desert. People think that it's a lot of people who live in, in very rural communities and who are, very economically challenged. And we do have some of that.
We have
but
that here.
We have it everywhere, like but there is just a huge thriving modern community and cities across Africa, especially where I come from. The city of Lagos is over 20 million people living in the city by the coast. It's super modern. It's just a thriving community of professionals and very entrepreneurial. Nigerians are known to be very entrepreneurial. Here in the U.S., Nigerians are the most educated immigrant population in the U.S. Just because our culture also drives entrepreneurship and growth. And so there's just a lot. And so coming to the U.S., I came to the U.S. in 1999 to pursue an education. I bring that diversity and that culture.
Mm-hmm.
And so I actually grew up in a university community. My father was a professor. He had schooled in England. My mother was very much in the education sector, heading up schools and later running the Ministry of Education, and the huge emphasis on how education can be the great equalizer.
Yes.
That really got into me very early.
Mm-hmm.
I imbibed that very early, and it is some of the foundations that have helped me as a person to grow, but also when I serve. As you heard about the nonprofit, there's a lot of focus around education because education can really open up the opportunities and the doors.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm super excited about that and how I see it working out even in our community in McKinney.
Mm-hmm. So is it fair to say that you don't believe that anybody can be held down because if they will get the education and they will apply themselves, or, you said, entrepreneurial spirit there, that if they will figure out a way, make a way, solve the problem that needs to be solved, that the sky's the limit?
I absolutely believe it. I've seen it. I've lived it. It's been my personal experience. Yes, education, entrepreneurship, hard work. Those are foundational things that can lift anybody from disadvantage and poverty. Like I said, for me, it's the great equalizer. this was especially driven home by my own father, who was orphaned at 10 and struggled a lot. But through education, was able to pull himself up, finally becoming, a professor of nuclear physics, going to Cambridge University, coming back to run a university in Nigeria, and then, raising children who he always told us education is the key that can open any door. Not just education, hard work. And the responsibility to give back and to carry others along with you. That is something really that I imbibed as a young person growing up in my community. But also the idea that education is not just for us to go to school. It's about solving real problems, solving real problems for people. And that, of course, that's the definition of entrepreneurship. So I really believe that everybody can have that opportunity. And I'm excited when I see things happening in our community. Last week we were in Leadership McKinney calling community. That for me is very exciting. Seeing how education plays into the workforce, how the community is the bridge between the secondary education and the workforce, and how all that builds a thriving community. That's exciting.
Yeah, I was very impressed with that Collin College tour and all that we learned, knowing that they have programs engineered with some pretty big players in our community, so that not only are they getting an education, they're getting real world applicable skills that they can immediately go out and, have a job that they can be proud of, have income that, they can be proud of, have the ability to provide for their family, which, I don't know of anybody who says, you know what, I want to be deadbeat, deadweight, all those things. Now I understand that there are situations that we all face, but if you can establish yourself as soon as possible from, the time you graduate high school, whether it is, and that was the things that when I was growing up, the idea was you go to high school, you go to a 4-year university minimally, you get that degree, and then you go get that job based upon that degree, and then you move forward in life. Of course, as I grew up later in life, I was like, oh, so you get that job, it's underwhelming, it's underpaid, overwhelming. You live in a cubicle, and if you keep your head down for the next 40, 50 years, if you haven't died from stress or a heart attack, then you can retire. And, and even with our own sons, as they were getting older, my wife and I started talking that, college is great. If that's the track that you're on. And if you decide not to go to college, that's great too, as long as work, whether you go to college and then you go to work, or you just immediately go to work, you got to go to work.
Correct.
Because you can have this great degree of whatever, but if you're not going to work, it's really not for anything.
Correct.
And so the fact that Collin has, those trade schools, because as far as I can tell, especially, it's hot here in Texas, nothing compared to Nigeria, but, there's no one ever says, oh, I don't need air conditioning.
Correct.
No one says that.
Correct.
And no one says I don't need indoor plumbing or I don't need any of those things. We have it very easy, very nice here, and because I've had to call for AC or electrical or plumbing services at off hours. I know what they charge, and I'm like,
correct.
I'm in the wrong profession. Am I willing to swap a capacitor on an air conditioner at 2 a.m?
Correct.
No. But I'm going to get paid how much? Yes, I am. I'm very much motivated to do that. I truly believe that there is honor and value in every job. It does not matter what it is. But for you, so you've got those 3 magical letters after your name, PhD. Tell us about that.
I have a PhD in. I came to the U.S. in 1999 to get a graduate degree. I landed in Houston and was admitted to Rice University on a scholarship. And so That was the start of my journey. Um, I have been extremely blessed. I want to pause to say how blessed I feel. I have been by the doors that have been opened and the people that I've met along the way, the mentors and the role models that just have recognized something within me and, offered to pull me along with them. Now, I had a professor at Rice. His name was Rob Nowak, and he immediately, took me on as a mentee and talked to me about the PhD program. I did come in for the PhD program, but just meeting Rob was the door, the key that gave me the confidence to push ahead. Because when I came from Nigeria, my educational background, even though I had gone to one of the best schools in Nigeria, I was very inadequately prepared. Aside from the culture shock, it was just an educational system that did not have a lot of exposure to practical applications of the knowledge. And so when I got to Rice and the high level of education that was happening and the questions around, okay, you know all this stuff. How does it apply to solving problems? How do you do MRI imaging? How does digital signal processing lead you to decide whether you should go for surgery or not surgery? For me, it was a new world, right? How does knowledge translate to real life solving problems? And getting into a community where there was a lot of belief in me was just, I think it was the foundation that gave me the confidence to get through the PhD. And somewhere along the line, I met my husband, who was also doing a PhD in computer engineering at A&M. He convinced me to move over to A&M, so I am an Aggie. I eventually finished up in A&M. And there again, I had a really great mentor, Deepa, who was my PhD advisor. And she was the first woman professor I had in my career in engineering. And she started with her, I learned that, the importance of representation. The idea that you need to see others like you and the role model in order to be, encouraged. And she opened a lot of doors. All this to say that my journey through PhD, while I have the PhD degree, it would not have been possible without all the mentors and all the help and all the scholarship I got along the way. So, it's one of the most difficult things I have ever done in my life. And when I got that degree, I used to joke the minute I have that degree, I'm going to take it and I'm going to run as far as possible away from the school, because it was a challenge. I had 2 of my children during my PhD program. Oh. And so trying to be a mother and a wife and complete a PhD program was very challenging. But I'm super proud that I did that. But going back to something that you said, my PhD was in computer engineering. Right now, I'm not doing anything related to computer engineering, right? And if I probably had more mentoring along the way, more role modeling, more counseling, career counseling, I might have been one of those who went to a trade school, actually, because there's just, I'm super impressed about how it really solves problems. It's about solving problems, real life problems that people have every day. And now I'm doing more in the entrepreneurial space. It's just very different from what I went to school from. So now I'm a big believer that if you want to go that path, you should. We should try to align whatever we're doing with our real passions. If we find them early in life, and there's a real need for trade schools that help with building actual skills.
Okay, so you go through post-secondary to get your PhD. And I'm going to challenge you on that. Saying that computer engineering, that you're not using any of that. I would say that you actually are.
Yes.
Because the discipline that you had to exhibit to be a student.
Yes.
a mother, and a wife.
Yes.
You had to learn to set priorities, set boundaries, set goals, plan the steps to meet those goals. So, if there's anything that we should learn from a college experience is how to just structure things.
Correct.
Because you can't, you have to know, okay, so I've got the end of the semester is here. I've got a final there. I have a midterm, and those are my only 2 grades.
Yes.
So it's not like I can just slack until the midterm and then I'm going to be able to ace it.
Correct.
And then slack until the final. You learn how to put in the work leading up to it. So I would say that you are using.
Correct.
You might not be using. You not be using the knowledge base.
Yes.
The actual applying that knowledge base, but the what is it? The
discipline,
serendipity of it all.
Absolutely. I don't think that any experience is wasted, and especially certainly not the experience of the PhD. The discipline, the ability to ask the right questions, the ability to research, even some of the skills I'm still using. So you're absolutely right. If I said I wasn't using that wasn't correct, because a lot of what I'm doing now is based off of that discipline and the ability to ask those questions, the ability to be a researcher, the ability to inquire, right, about what you want to know, and then to walk through the process of doing a lot of literature review about what has been done in the past and what doesn't exist and what can I build on top of. Even the skills of presenting, I learned that in graduate school, standing in front of, your professors and being able to defend your thesis or defend your hypothesis. All that came from going to school.
See,
it's not wasted at all.
You're using it. Your dollars are invested well.
Yes.
Okay, so you graduated with a PhD. Did you immediately go into some sort of computer engineering role?
Correct.
What was
Correct. That? So I was immediately hired out of school by Texas Instruments, and that's how I landed here.
Okay.
Yes.
So down over there off of 75.
Exactly. I went to work on 75.
Campus.
I loved it. I loved Texas Instruments. It was exactly what I wanted. When I was graduating, I had several offers, and it was one of those situations where I prayed about exactly where what I wanted to do. I did want to be at the intersection of technology and education. I knew that I had a calling to do something in this space, in the education space. In the education space, I actually thought I had turned that off. And I had my technology background. And so when Texas Instruments opportunity came, in the ed tech world, where we were building out tools and calculators, and that job was putting me in classrooms talking to teachers about how we can use technology to really improve the learning outcomes. That was what I wanted. And so I did that for 2 years. And then the entrepreneurial itch really started for me. Yeah. So in the heat of the sort of economic meltdown in 2010, I decided to quit. I think a lot of people thought it was the craziest thing to be doing at that point in time.
Sure.
But like you, I think I had also experienced the cubicle burnout, right? And I felt I had a lot more to give. And like you said, it was either stay here for, the next 30, 40 years and and retire, or go out and explore with the potential to fail, but the idea that you tried. And so I chose the entrepreneurial pathway.
Yeah. And so that was the launch of Herbal Goodness?
The launch of Herbal Goodness is another story. Yes, so it was the launch of Herbal Goodness.
You're sitting there doing that mix between technology and education, and somewhere in there you're like, you know what? We need to have excellence in supplements. And how did that come about?
Let me tell you the story. So when I quit my job, I actually did not know that I would be in the health and wellness space.
Oh, so you quit just to quit?
I quit cold.
Wow.
I knew what I didn't want. And I think one of my principles in life is, you've got to make a decision. It could be the wrong decision, but you've got to make a decision. Like sitting on the fence is very dangerous.
That's right.
And if you figure out what you don't want, at least you know you don't want it. And so you should start moving away from it.
Yes.
At that point, I had come to the realization that this was not what I wanted. I wasn't sure what I wanted, but I knew what it wasn't. And sometimes you have to close a door before the next door opens. I think I took a leap of faith. I don't always recommend what I did to everybody.
Don't just quit.
Don't just quit. Have a plan.
Yes.
But I quit. The idea was I was also burnt out. In my future, I thought I would quit and start a ed tech company. This is what I've always been truly passionate about, education, and I had technology. So I was going to quit to start an ed tech company. I was so burnt out when I quit, I pulled my kids out of school. They were 2 young kids. And I went back to my original, country of Nigeria for, 2+ months.
But your children were born here in the States.
My children were born here.
How old were they when you did
They
that?
were in first, second grade and kindergarten.
So that was a big culture shock for them.
It was a big culture shock. It was a big step on my part because it really was sitting with no education. I really felt like I needed a break. Going back home was a grounding step for me. I just wanted to remember. I wanted to remember my dreams. I wanted to remember where I was, what I wanted to do. I really needed to go back to ask myself a couple of questions, right? And I think it's important because many times when we're in a rat race, sometimes we forget why.
Yes.
So going home really grounded me, and that experience also refreshed me in not just internally and spiritually, but even nutritionally, right? Going back to the foods of my youth and eating a lot of organic, superfoods and super herbs, that was exciting. Now, when I came back, I felt I had clarity. I came back to the U.S. to sort of start putting the pieces together about what next. But I really wanted to continue eating well for my unborn child. When I quit, I realized I was pregnant for my 3rd child, so I went back home. Was eating really well for this child. Came back to try to continue eating, the mangoes and the papayas of my youth. And that's when I experienced a little bit of shock, right? I was looking for papayas in all kinds of places. I wasn't finding. The ones I was finding was tasted much different than the ones I grew up with. And the researcher in me started to ask questions. What is going on with the food system in the U.S.? Why is the food different from the food in back home? Why does the banana taste different? Why does the chicken taste a little different? And that's when I started to learn about organic foods, genetically modified foods. Papaya was actually the very first genetically modified fruit.
Really?
Yes, in Hawaii. And there's all kinds of history around that. The more I researched, the more I felt the responsibility to share what I was learning with the world. And that's how Herbal Goodness was born. I stayed up one night. I put together a website with some of the, basic technology skills I had. I created a product. My very first product was a papaya leaf tea. And I went to bed at 5 a.m. I got up at 10 a.m. and I had 5 orders. And I did not even have a product. So I panicked. I contacted all the customers and, did a refund. And I was like, this product is back ordered. I'm going to have to figure out, I told us the spiel. Well, one guy in Ohio said, no, I don't want a refund. I want the organic papaya leaf tea that you have. I said, it's going to be a few months. He's like, whenever you get it, hold my money. I want the product. And that's the journey.
No pressure.
I started scrambling. I had no idea about sourcing products, supply chain, importing things, packaging, manufacturing. I had no idea.
So you were building.
We figured it out.
You were building the bridge as you were crossing it.
We were building the plane as it was flying.
Yes,
and we've continued to do that.
That is crazy. So now, do you put things on your website for order that haven't been through the process yet?
Well, now we've modified the process of new product launch. Certainly, you want to be able to make sure that you can source it and that you're telling people accurately when it will be available, or to let people know that they are back ordering. But we still use a form of that system to test the market before we invest into new products.
All right. So, what are the obviously, Unoma brought us, the boxed set of herbal tea. And so actually, let me bring it around here. Let me see if I can steer that in. There we go. So this is an example of something that you can get from Herbal Goodness, this tea box set here. And so I'm going to open this up and take a look what we have. So there's, look at this. Let me try not to tip this out. Get there. Try to steer this and look at the monitor at the same time. This is a excellently, the presentation value. I love it immediately. So now y'all open this up and, so let's just talk about this here. What's the first one?
So that's guava or mullein.
Yes, mullein.
Yes. So our company is very different in the fact that when we talk about superfoods, a lot of people think about kale and, all the good stuff, and that's it. But we travel the world to try to find really unique super herbs that have a strong health benefit, and we bring it to the U.S. And so you'll see things like mullein, which is really good for your respiratory system, guava, which is great for metabolism. Guayusa, have you ever heard about guayusa? You see, so guayusa only grows in the Amazon forest, Ecuador, and that is a naturally caffeinated tea with no jitters. And then things like bamboo and gymnema. Have you heard about gymnema?
No, I haven't heard of gymnema.
That's what makes us unique.
Yes.
That's what makes us stand out in the marketplace.
Yeah, so I like how you have, it's like, so with the mullein, it's lung and respiratory support.
Yes.
Gymnema, sugar destroyer, pancreatic support.
Yes.
Graviola, cell regeneration and stress relief. I've been doing a little bit of research on that and realizing that, what is it called? Autophagy?
Yes.
Where the cells, basically, it's a bit the cleanup crew.
Exactly.
The cleanup crew.
Exactly.
And I was like, what do you mean that, the mitochondria and things, can be malformed or damaged and, those need to be cleared out, things that, I've heard of, mitochondria. I've never seen one personally, but apparently they're all at work in my body.
Yes.
But, that the body itself needs to be cleaned and tightened up,
Correct.
And of course I'm just thinking, that's what happens, through the blood, through the lymph system, all those other things. But, but at the cellular level, and I'm like, that's, well beyond, my pay grade, but I love that you have these things on here so that people understand, what, and this is just a small sampling of what it is that you offer.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
And even more than the products, I think that we've found that the greater need is the education, right? A lot of people don't even know that these sorts of herbs or products exist. They don't understand at the cellular level what makes us healthy. And you did mention autophagy, and there's all kinds of things that roll into that. And so part of our mission at Herbal Goodness is to educate, whether it's to talk about how the mind and the body are connected and how you really need to be healthy in your mind, or if we're talking about intermittent fasting and how that is really critical for your body to help it to heal itself. All those things are things we talk about. And then if you need supplementation, we also talk about the kinds of different things that you need and how they work well with your body at the different stages. So there's just a lot. I have come to learn a lot. This is not my background. Like I said, it's a journey that started about 13 years ago. But the more I've been in this world, the more excited I have been. The more I learn, the more I want to share what I'm learning.
So when it comes to, these things, I feel that, my wife and I were I don't know. It wasn't until we moved to Texas that someone introduced us to the concept of essential oils.
Yes.
And, there's a segment of society that it is the end all, be all, do all. There's, everything can be solved through essential oils. I'm not necessarily of that mindset. And then there's the other end of the spectrum where, it's just snake oil.
Yes.
And there's no value to it. And, I'm somewhere in the middle.
Yes.
Because, when someone said, oh, you got this cut or whatever, a lot of people reach for alcohol or rubbing alcohol. It's like alcohol, throwing back bottles. They're reaching for, some sort of rubbing alcohol or peroxide, which, are excellent, for their application. But someone else said, well, you could use, what's it, clove oil?
Yes.
And I was like, how's an oil going to do what I need to do this? And they're like, well, it has antibacterial properties 100%. In it. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. And then someone else sat me down and said, what did all those people do before we had modern medicine?
100%.
And at the same time, when you talk about GMO versus organic, when I think about the health issues that we have now, and I saw it for myself and my own boys when they were younger. They were hungry. We would go. We would go, the convenient route.
Yes.
Let's go to McDonald's, go get a Happy Meal, and it's a substantial amount of food.
Yes.
But within an hour, like I'm hungry. And I'm like, you can't be hungry. You just ate. And, I don't know who it was, but they, someone pulled me aside and said, just because you're filling the belly doesn't mean that you're feeding the body.
100%.
And I was like, that can't be. It's McDonald's. Look at the packaging. Look, it comes with a toy.
Yes.
And I was like, oh man, it's all marketing and advertising. And of course, if you're part of, McDonald's corporate, I'm not, bad mouthing your company or your food value or any of those other things.
Yes.
But, what I realized for my own children and even for myself, because I would go hit McDonald's, was that I was filled, but I wasn't fulfilled.
100%.
And even though it'd only been an hour, and I know that, those food contents haven't left my stomach, I was now looking for something else to eat.
100%.
And I was questioning why is that? So because your body is still hungry.
100%.
You have not nourished your body. And that's when I started to think about things like maybe there is something here in these essential oils. Maybe there is something here in, the organic foods.
Yes.
And then, someone else pulled me aside and said, hey, man, you can either pay for healthy food or health care.
Or you go to the hospital.
That's right.
Yes.
You
think that organic and eating well is expensive. Try being sick.
That's right.
It's what I tell people.
Mm-hmm.
But you're absolutely right, Fred. I straddle the world too. I'm somewhere in the middle, right? And maybe that's why it's given us a lot of authenticity in this space, right? I come from a community where if you got a cut, you go outside and you grab a leaf and you rub it on it, and 3 minutes later, the bleeding has stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up with a grandmother that taught me to brush with charcoal.
Mm-hmm. With charcoal,
to whiten your teeth.
Yes. And which is kind of counterintuitive. You think because charcoal like blackening. Yes.
But it does work. And I grew up in a community where we detoxed every 6 months by eating the seeds of papaya. And so I have that. And yet I also I'm in this world where I'm super analytical. Like you said, I have a PhD in computer engineering. If it doesn't really add up, if you cannot say QED, I've been able to show it and prove it, then you also start to question.
Yes.
But I'm in that middle. And then I have two amazing sisters who are also medical doctors who can tell you from the medical side that this is what it should say and it should do. And so part of my work is to blend those two worlds. There is the snake oil folks who tell you that this thing can heal, HIV and cancer, all those things, right? And we have to be really careful about that. But I think that what helps me is blending the two. For example, before I suggest supplementation to a lot of people, I believe in diagnostics, right? Go and get the tests scientifically to tell you, where are you? Are you low in vitamins B? Are you low in magnesium? Are you having a headache because you're low in this, or are you lacking sleep because of? There's so many things that can cause you to be to have issues. So I believe that we should all be thinking about diagnostics as the scientific way. But when it comes to supplementation, it is not a replacement for traditional medicine. I don't believe that. If your A1C is at that level where, there are people I look at them like, go to your doctor, right? You need a doctor, you're in crisis, right? If you've had an accident and you need a surgery, you better make your way to the hospital, right?
So none of these teas will set a broken bone?
No.
Okay.
No,
All right.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but no, that's expecting too much. But if you don't want to get there, where you're constantly in the hospital and you're now in critical condition and critical care, supplementation, herbs, and food is medicine. Socrates said this: food is medicine. We are what we eat.
Right.
If you're feeding your body healthy, plant-based things that can grow, and if you leave it on a shelf, it will go bad, then you're nourishing your body at a cellular level, and you will live a long, healthy life. Now, if you're feeding your body things that are high in sugar, highly processed food, you will also see that, begin to drag in your body. But it's a lifestyle. I always say health is a journey. It's not a once and done.
That's right.
It's a journey and it's a lifestyle. And so if you want that lifestyle, then we are the ones for you.
Yeah, I love that. And, you mentioned papaya.
Yes.
My wife and I, we were on a mission trip in South America, and she started to have indigestion because, you're eating foods that you're not accustomed to. She was having some indigestion, and it was a mission trip with our church. And so we asked the missionaries we were staying with, do you have, Tums or Rolaids? That's right. They're like, no, but they said, well, we have this chewable papaya extract.
Exactly.
And I remember looking at them like, my wife is just going to be suffering. So they handed her some, she chewed them up and drank some water. Yes. And within minutes.
It is the best digestive aid.
And we came back and I found that you can buy it here in the States.
100%.
Yeah. And so, 100%. Now we have bottles of it. She has one in her purse. I have one in one of my camera bags. There's, one downstairs. And, because we used to have Tums and Rolaids and all those things. And
so now you're a believer.
That's right. Yeah. And then someone told me about, of course now Tums, Rolaids are going to come for me. But someone told me about, what that does to your stomach.
Yes.
And I was like, really?
Yes.
I was like, so you're getting relief, but the secondary effects are something that you don't want either.
100%.
And I was totally stunned by that. And this was already well into our 30s.
Wow.
And I was like, how many
things we don't know?
How many antacids have I had that I just ruined myself on? But and things that are counterintuitive. If you've got an upset stomach, what was it? Apple cider vinegar.
100%.
And I was like, 100%. But that's sour and bitter. Why would you take that? I would want something like Pepto-Bismol, and they're like, no, you don't want that either. Yes. So I'm thank you for these samples here. I'm definitely going to take those home, and I might share them with my wife. I might not.
You should.
Yeah. These are from Unoma for me, not for you. Okay, so before we run out of time, when it comes to, I want to talk just a little bit about Leadership McKinney.
Yes.
Because this the greatest of all time class.
Yes.
You're one of my classmates here. How did you learn about Leadership McKinney, and why did you apply?
Wow. I learned about Leadership McKinney from my good friend Derek Robertson of the AUIL.
Yes.
I think he had been at leadership about 4 years ago. He said so many great things about it. And then I decided to apply. I took a look at the program and I thought it was exactly what I was looking for. I applied because I was looking for an understanding of how this thing grew, how our community works, and how I can become more involved in serving. Leadership McKinney provides that environment and that program that brings together leaders and people who really want to understand governance And at that time, I had been doing business here in McKinney for a few years. I also started doing a little bit of real estate. And I also serve here in my local church. And I really just wanted to get more involved in community. And that's how I got involved in Leadership McKinney.
And so now we've been at it for 4 or 5 months?
Yes.
What's your opinion so far?
Wow. It's blown me away. It's exceeded my expectations by so much more. I think that it's helped me understand how McKinney thrives as a city. The diversity, the culture, the spirit of hometown, family, community, the understanding of how city governance works, the various pieces that have to work together to make everything come together, the amazing growth that is happening in our community, and how we can all contribute to steward this amazing city and to play our part, to pass it on to the next generation as a great place to live and a great place to raise friends. And I'm really excited about getting to know, more of our classmates, building that bond and that friendship. These are our neighbors.
That's right.
Who care deeply
That's right.
about our community. Yes. And I'm just really privileged and excited to be part of that class and to be part of the cohort and the entire program.
Amen. I concur.
Yeah.
So, I just realized that I forgot to ask a question. You graduated college.
Yes.
In Houston.
Yes.
You got hired by Texas Instruments.
Yes.
Which brought you to Plano.
Correct. I graduated college in Houston. I moved to A&M, graduated from my PhD. I
That's
got
right.
my master's
That's right.
in
College
Rice.
Station. So that's
College Station,
okay.
And then I came to Dallas.
And so you're there at TI. Why did you choose McKinney? Did you look anywhere else?
So initially, we lived in the Plano area. And then we quickly moved into McKinney, into the McKinney area. And no, I didn't look anywhere else. I came in.
That's where you're going to go.
The community, the family, the vibrancy, the big city, small feel. It is something that is really tangible. And then I visited downtown McKinney. And that was it. Yes. And the beautiful school districts for our young children. At that time, we had 3 young children. That was a huge factor for us. The comfort we felt so at home. Being immigrant families that are now transposed here, we felt like this place was home for us. And it's just been home for us.
And is there a strong Nigerian presence here in McKinney?
There is a strong Nigerian presence, and there's the ability to buy all kinds of food, Asian food, African food, all kinds. The culture and the diversity and the mix is here, and yet the spirit of McKinney is alive. It is truly unique by nature. It truly is unique by nature.
Well, there's no better note to end on than that. So before we go, I said there's going to be a quick quiz.
Okay.
There's no wrong answers.
Okay.
All right. So, who would win in a fight between a giant polar bear and a great white shark? They are in a battle to the end in a body of water.
Wow.
6 feet deep, and there's no land. It's 6 feet all the way around. No shore, no edges, no sandbar, no shallow. 6 feet deep body of water, infinite dimensions, great white shark, giant polar bear. Who wins the fight?
I think the great white shark.
The great white shark.
Yes.
So why is that?
I think I know that the polar bear can survive in water, but I think, first of all, I love the great white shark. I think it's a really unique mammal. It's a really unique animal that you just in awe at the beauty and the creation. I think that it's already in its very natural environment, 6 feet deep, and it has some advantages there. I think that its sheer weight can be a huge advantage, and the ability the superpower of being able to swim and move really quickly
Mhm.
within that particular environment. If it's 6 feet in the water, I think it can move really quickly and,
All right.
and come back.
Okay, I love it. Just there's no right or wrong answer. We just love throwing
I'm
that
curious
question
about
there.
you. What's your answer?
Well, I'm also. It's funny that James is not here, but the first time I heard this, I was like, oh, definitely the shark.
Yes.
And James is more of the polar bear.
Yeah.
So our joke is that he's team polar bear and I'm team shark.
Interesting.
And because and I can see his point for the polar bear, because the polar bear has 4 claws
Yes.
plus a mouth.
Yes.
So it has 5 points of attack or defense.
I see.
And the polar bear can stand up.
Yes.
And the polar bear is a pretty adept at swimming also. So,
Yes.
there are many points where I can say, well, I hear that, but I'll see you this, and we go back and
Yes.
forth. But it's one of those. It's just fun to
It's
ask
just
and hear people's reasoning why. So,
Yes.
but thank you so much, Unoma, for coming on to the show and just for sharing a little bit about you, and about that the world is your oyster if you will get the education and that you will put in the work.
Yes.
Take advantage of your opportunities, see the problem, address the problem. And then, there's nothing that can stop you. I love that. You just have this, you radiate this hope and positivity that, you bring that to our classes. And I love that too. So if you would like to know more, we're going to leave the information in the show notes so that you can also take advantage of possibly exploring some of the herbal goodness there. And, my wife and I, we are tea drinkers.
Good.
I also drink coffee, but, I love tea. My favorite is just I mix it right there myself. It's apple cider vinegar, lemon juice, ginger, turmeric, black
That's a good
pepper,
one.
and some cinnamon. I call it my anti-inflammatory,
It's a good one.
mixed beverage. That's our joke at night. Elizabeth asked me, would you like a mixed bev? And I'm like, absolutely. So I'm having that, and I think, there's also some blood sugar properties in there, some digestion things. And I'm like, I'm here for it because at 55, not getting any younger.
Yes.
So, you're going to delight my palate with these other things. And, I'm just curious to see, how I'll have to monitor how I'm feeling and what I'm doing, and
Absolutely.
and ask my system, if autophagy
Are you
is going on or whatever.
I don't know if you can feel it that quickly, but yeah.
But absolutely do what is necessary for your body, for your wellness, for your well-being. And definitely check out Herbal Goodness. This has been another episode of the McKinney Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you on the next one.